75% of suicides occur in low-income regions, according to Bantis et al. In other words, 75% of suicide victims have lived their lives in poverty. 75% is a staggering number. But is it really shocking? Can anyone really claim to be surprised by the fact that the pit of despair is populated by people cursed with poverty? Let me ask you something. If you take a moment to imagine a bad neighborhood, a poor neighborhood, what do you imagine exactly? You'll probably imagine a bad road filled with plot holes, with old small houses on its left and right, houses with miserable conditions. You'd imagine miserable windows with miserable doors and miserable people walking up and down the street. You'll probably also imagine a gloomy sky above the neighborhood, as if the neighborhood was some sort of God-forsaken corner from hell. In short, we all know that despair and poverty come hand in hand. Not so long ago, I walked past a neighborhood like the one I just described, and it simultaneously did both break my heart and spike my interest in the mental well-being of residents of such areas. I did my research, and I came to better understand the dire situation of these neighborhoods. Urgent action needs to be taken to deal with the mental health crises that plague such areas. But why is this matter this urgent? Well, although almost anyone can correlate poor mental well-being to poverty, the mental health of poor people is still largely overlooked. For example, according to Ridley et al., poor people are 1.5 to 3 times more likely than others to suffer from mental health conditions, such as depression and anxiety. Moreover, this reality causes the suicide rates and the crime rates in these regions to soar. However, all this is for valid reason, if you ask me. Because after all, how could poor people not be depressed? If you have an exam a week from now, you'll probably be stressing about it since a week ago, which consequently makes the finals period for you a living nightmare, a storm of anxiety. You're worried about how you're going to do in the exam, and what would you do, what would happen if you didn't do well. Moreover, you'll probably be confined at the home to study. So you're going to be missing out on events and outings with friends to stay at home and study, which will steadily but slowly leak depression into your head. This is a very simple and a very unserious example of a scenario that would wreak havoc on the mental well-being of most of us here. However, at the end of the day, the cause of our anxiety is just the exams that will eventually come to pass. We don't share this luxury with poor people, because the struggle of poor people is not a biannual period that will surely come to pass. The struggle of poor people is a new challenge that starts with every morning with no promise of an end. The struggle of poor people is a struggle for survival. It's a struggle for water and food. It's not knowing if you're going to live until the end of the week. It's seeing no light at the end of the tunnel. What man, woman, or child can go through this and come out intact? Add to all of this, poor people have limited means to escape this hellscape. Education, which can be a very good distraction and a promise for a better future, is a luxury that can be too expensive. And mental health care, with its notorious sky-high prices, is for the rich, is there for the rich, not with no place for the middle class, let alone the poor. Finding jobs that require no education is very difficult, and no doctor would treat you if you're sick with no money. So where do people go? Where do poor people go to escape this hellish landscape? As a result of all of this, when a man finds that the only purpose of his life is to suffer with no relief, he would have found a reason to end his cursed living. When a woman finds that the only way she's not going to die from hunger today is to steal, she will steal. When a child finds that the only way to survive in the very harsh environment he was born in is to fight for dear life, he will fight for dear life, and he will do so very violently. However, no matter how gloomy this all sounds, there is still hope. We, the more fortunate, are the hope. There is not much a small group like us can do on our own, but change always starts with the groups like us. For example, if we're going to talk in general, to address the problem directly, one thing can be done is to provide mental health care. Mental care. Most people living in low-income regions have limited access, if there's access at all, to therapy, while they need it the most. Another solution that could help is to provide, for example, relief, especially financial relief. Both of these suggestions, can be helpful. However, they both fail to effectively address the problem at hand. As long as the poor stay poor, as long as they have to live everyday life worrying about their livelihood, any improvement to their mental health will only be a short-lived boost. Therefore, to deal with the gloom that comes with poverty, we have to deal with the poverty itself. Send the children to schools, find adults jobs, treat the sick, and then we can deal with their mental health. Now, all of this can, again, be made possible through organizing educational programs, job search workshops, and similar systems and programs that can be implemented. But now we, as a group of 20 university students, can't do any of that now, can we? No, we can't. But what we can do is spread awareness. Spread awareness about the issue. Let people learn about the numbers. Let people know of what can be done. Only then can we have the power to effectively help our less fortunate brothers and sisters. Let people understand what's happening, because in most cases, people don't know. For example, I want you to imagine this. People know of us. People know what we're fighting for. People know what we're fighting for very hard. People know why we're fighting so hard for. People see us determined to create the difference, the change we want to see in the world. People will get inspired. If we do all of this, people will get inspired. And this leads us to something I want you to imagine with me. Why we would do all of this, realistically. Because, imagine this with me for a minute. A world where the notion of poverty is history. Like a world with 75% less suicides, a world with 60% less crime. Imagine a world where we are all truly equal. Like where we all can worry about exams and where we all can get sad about missing out on events. A world where none of us has to live in neighborhoods that look like corners of hell. A world where none of us has to contemplate suicide out of sheer hopelessness. This is why we would do everything we would do. This is the vision, if you want. However, imagining and envisioning alone is not enough. In short, my friends, there's a very clear negative correlation between poverty and mental well-being. And somebody must start doing something about it. Let us be this somebody. Let us be the people that start doing things about it. If all we can do right now is spread awareness, then let us do that to our best abilities. Let us spread awareness wherever we go, in our daily conversations, on social media, in posters, in talk spaces, wherever. Let us talk about it to our friends, to our families, even to strangers. Because us, my friends, you and I, can be the beginning of something great. Oh, and enjoy stressing about your finals.